Wake up, Rover, we got lore to learn. If your only experience with Cyberpunk is the Edgerunner anime or just the Wuthering Waves collab, then let me tell you about one of the coolest fictional worlds I've ever seen. People don't know this, but Cyberpunk is based on a tabletop game back in the 80s by Mike Pondsmith and Talsorian Games. There is so much love that's put in this universe, and I'm so glad that Crow Games did it justice. This is a short, sweet, and to the point introduction to Cyberpunk's lore. Our story begins in America. The United States was losing economic and financial power in the 20th century. Europe was becoming a world power, and the US couldn't let that stand. We gotta be number one. USA, baby, America. We can't stop winning. So, a group of American agencies secretly tried to manipulate the European and Asian exchanges. They got caught by Interpol, and the US was charged with stock manipulation and money laundering. This led to the system collapsing and to what's known as the Crash of '94. As a result, a majority of developed nations placed embargoes on the US. America then entered a major depression. Homelessness and gang violence was on the rise. Enter Richard Knight, an engineering student turned finance bro. He had a dream of creating a city free from crime, poverty, and corruption. It would be safe, self-sufficient, and managed by corporations. It was going to be a shining example of enlightened capitalism. With Arasaka, Petrochem, and EBM, Knight got the funding to create his modern utopia, and he was going to build it in Morro Bay. Due to gang violence so bad the military needed to step in, Morro Bay was dirt cheap. Knight had to level the mountains and dump the land into the ocean to reshape the bay, and to make space for his city. Things were going great, but Knight had a problem. Unfortunately, mobs like the Mafia and the Yakuza controlled the construction industry. They controlled the unions and government agencies associated with construction. For the mobs, this was an opportunity to push gambling, drugs, and prostitution into a new city. But Knight wanted the city to be safe, and this was a source of friction. This led to the mob assassinating Richard Knight. Night City became the official name in his honor. In the following years, the mob ran the city and violence was at an all-time high. There was more violent crime in 4 years than most cities have in 10. Eventually, the corps had enough and fought back. Did the corps fight back to serve the greater good and help their fellow man? No. Nah, the mob was bad for business, so they had to go. Arasaka's paramilitary overwhelmed the mobs. The mobs were not ready for Arasaka's superior technology and tactics, and they were defeated. The mob now answered to the corps that would be running the city for decades and decades into the future. Everything I talked about was just from 1990 to 2011. That was the founding of Night City as we know it, but let's talk about what an Edgerunner actually is. In the world of Cyberpunk, technology was rapidly improving and cybernetics became an integral part of life. Bad eyes? Get cyber optics that can see for miles and in the dark. Bad hip? Get your skeleton replaced. It's a new age and you can become part of it by endlessly improving yourself. The people had two options, either get with the program or get left behind. So people started getting cybernetics to keep up. In Night City, where corporations have complete and total power, Edgerunners or Cyberpunks are people that use tech to stand up against megacorporations like Arasaka and fight against all odds. They fight against those megacorps that accumulate and hoard wealth while the people below them are struggling to survive. You can't prove this allegory. Now, while cyberware is really cool, there's a teeny tiny risk with it, and that's cyberpsychosis. Something happens when you start adding metal and plastic to people. They start to change and it ain't pretty. Cyberpsychosis is a dissociative disorder. According to the sourcebook, only cyberware that replaces a perfectly functioning body part or enhances the body beyond the human baseline can push someone towards cyberpsychosis. A person suffering from it may relate more to a machine than humans. They may have a disregard for others, show poor impulse control, and have explosive bursts of emotion. Cyberpsychosis is not completely understood in the lore. There isn't a definite reason or origin to cyberpsychosis. In the TTRPG, your tolerance to cyberware is determined by your humanity stat. This stat is a measurement of a person's empathy. It's a mix of experiencing emotional trauma and adding chrome to your body that puts a person at risk. People have different tolerances or risk thresholds. Someone could put on a lot of cyberware and not turn into a cyberpsycho, while somebody with a couple basic implants does. Mike Pondsmith compares cyberware to an addiction. The model that he uses is steroids. In that Life Science article he links, while steroid-induced rages exist, they are likely only among excessive users with pre-existing psychological issues. Applying that to Cyberpunk, if we look at the state of Night City, it's not surprising that the average person has a ton of psychological problems. Compare that to David, which I want to emphasize, His mom raised him right. While yes, he was living in poverty, he was protected from a lot of the bullshit that exists in Night City. He didn't join a gang or do anything crazy. Even when his life does go wrong, he was still able to find a community that helps and supports him. David really was special. However, even David has his limits, and there's only so much trauma in cyberware he can handle. Now, a piece of powerful cyberware is the Cyberdeck. It is a piece of tech that allows you to do fun things like hacking or burning people's synapses. There's also the Sandevistan, which is iconic and we all love it. Also, just because it's important to mention, the Sandevistan is a small operating system. The metal spine that David gets installed is needed to establish a neural link so that he can use it. It's also bulky as hell because it's used for military grade tech. Cyberware isn't the only powerful technology in Cyberpunk. There's also cyberspace, or the net, which netrunners like Lucy use for their own benefits. The net that we see in Cyberpunk is because of the data crash. Data crash spelled with a K. Way back, there was a legendary netrunner named Rache Bartmoss, and he planted his Rabbids, or roving autonomous Bartmoss interface drones, into the net. Now, why would he do that? Because he is a vengeful and paranoid human being. He did this as an act of rebellion so that when he died from whatever corporation was hunting him, his virus would hack into corporate data fortresses and reveal all of their data onto the net, exposing it for all the people to see. The problem was, it worked a little too well. His virus infected 78% of the net. I want you to think about how connected our lives are to our devices and to the internet. Now imagine how screwed it would be if a virus infected everything. Because of his actions, the net became unstable and analog technology like punch cards were brought back for security reasons. After the data crash, instead of a large-scale network like our internet, CityNets started to pop up. CityNets are city-wide virtual private networks that are controlled by corporations. The data crash also released multiple rogue AIs. Some of those AIs were military grade that were designed to destroy. Those mutated and became even deadlier. But not all AI is bad. To contain these AIs and to have a safe space for humans to access cyberspace again, an organization called Netwatch worked with some AIs to create the Blackwall. The Blackwall looks like a massive barrier that keeps out rogue AIs, but it's actually an AI that acts like a firewall. Now, to those paying attention, you might be thinking that if the Blackwall is an AI, can it go rogue? And the answer is, that is a possibility, which is why the Blackwall is seen as a band-aid solution. Because so much of the old net was sectioned off, there is a wealth of information behind the Blackwall. Companies like Arasaka are trying to find ways to get information from beyond the Blackwall. Now, Edgerunners does a pretty good job of showing how dangerous the Blackwall is when they show Lucy's backstory, but the power of rogue AIs is even more terrifying than what they showed. In the video game, we get a glimpse of what it looks like when a rogue AI enters our world. Every time we encounter something from beyond the Blackwall, it turns into a horror game. Just watch. If the Blackwall fails and the rogue AIs are free, the world is screwed. But that's all theoretical. You know what isn't? Atom Smasher. Now let's talk about a major antagonist in the Cyberpunk franchise. Atom Smasher is what happens when you take the problem with cyberware to an extreme. He is 96% cybernetics. The only parts of him that aren't machine are his brain and parts of his spine. He's essentially a brain in a jar. One of the big thematic questions in Cyberpunk is how much of your humanity are you willing to give up? Atom Smasher looks at that question and goes, who cares, give me more chrome. He lives by a metal is better than meat philosophy. To him, meat is imperfect and installing cyberware fixes him. Even before he became full Borg, it's questionable how sane he was. Atom Smasher was born in New York City and served the Marines for 6 years. He then worked as a merc, and during a job for Arasaka, he was maimed by a rocket grenade. So, Arasaka cut him a deal. They would give him a full body conversion for 15 years of his service. This would be the best decision he ever made. He became a legend, taking gigs and flatlining anybody who crossed him. Atom Smasher is a high-functioning cyberpsycho, Working for Arasaka means that he has a green light to fulfill his murderous tendencies. During the Fourth Corporate War, Smasher was more than happy to slaughter Arasaka's enemies and their families. As much as Adam Smasher is an unstoppable force of metal, both in the game and in the anime, there's a side of him that you wouldn't know unless you read Mike Pondsmith's Reddit comments. According to Pondsmith, which, word of God, Adam Smasher likes to watch anime and is a big Elvis Presley fan. Now, this could be a joke comment and it's not true canon unless it's in the source book, but it is hilarious. To me, it's canon until proven otherwise. Can you imagine Adam Smasher hunting you down because he saw your My Anime list and saw that you had trash taste, or because you tried to argue with him online? As for the Elvis thing, because Smasher is a brain in a jar, he has different bodies that he can wear. According to Mike Pondsmith, Adam Smasher has a body that looks like a young ripped Elvis. It is so absurd, it's hilarious. But at the same time, I do like the idea of Smasher having these mundane and kind of weird hobbies. No matter how much he tries to hype himself up as this ultimate machine of death, if you strip away the layers of cyberware, deep down he's still a man, in a philosophical sense, because he's literally a brain in a jar. His whole metal over meat ideology falls apart when you realize he will never be this perfect machine because he will always have a small piece of humanity. Even if we ignore the Reddit comments, Adam Smasher has shown to hold on to grudges, which is very human. I love this universe. This was just scratching the surface. The lore is a lot of fun to read. Anyways, I need to catch up on Wuthering Waves. If you like this video and want to learn more about other gacha games, check out my channel. I'll see you guys next time. It might be a week, it might be a year.